What was the thing in your wins that happened again and again and again?
People let me do things.
Okay. Your Grace Conrad, same question.
I would say the same thing, people letting me fight my fight, and so that's what I want Ty to do.
Your Majesty.
Same. Yeah, get out there, make a move, and then do exactly what I wanted him to do.
All right. Your Grace Uther.
I missed the first load in. I'm sorry, question?
In your fights, in your wins, what was the thing that happened again and again and again?
I was in control of myself. I was talking to Timothy about this. I actually think it's way more important to be in control of you and what you're doing, because you have 100% control of that versus trying to control your opponent. Because if you let your opponent do what he wants to do and you can control yourself inside of that, I find victory lives in that area for myself.
And your opponents, what did you see again and again?
I saw them fighting what they would like to throw versus what was effective. And a lot of times when people were throwing things where I felt like they weren't throwing necessarily the best shot, or they weren't addressing my offense or my defense as well as they could have in some cases. And then we also had a lot of, like, I fought Timothy in goddamn a decade, great fight, and some other guys where, so I don't think we knew each other. Me and Sagan had a long, we haven't dated in a while.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of conversation in the fight.
He doesn't love me anymore.
Yeah, so that was really good. But I think ultimately people could be more aware of, for me, it's like a one shot's called a one shot. It's a singular cool event. You're almost never gonna hit the guy at the first shot. So how are you developing your engagement, or how are you developing the fight is really on my mind. And then am I in control of myself and my own actions, and can I comfortably let somebody do whatever they'd like to do. And then there are exceptions, like it's very hard against a Florentine fighter to have that philosophy. It's exceeding hard with me for Gabe. Gabe will feed me my lunch if I let him do what he wants to do. And so those are exceptions to generally how I fight, but that's what I think a lot about. And then today, again, I go back to like to be in control of myself and doing what I'm doing, and really cataloging where I'm at, and then letting my opponent do what he can. Because the other thing is, I think it's way easier to kill people when they're comfortable. If somebody's comfortable and thinks things are going their way, it's way easier to hit them.
Your Grace Sven.
If you don't get too close, I think you guys like B-rounds too much.
Right.
You're not fighting the sea. You walk way too close before you want to start fighting.
All right. Your Grace Ronan.
A lot of passive defense. A lot of passive defense. So it allows me to pick my lines, throw what I want to throw, when I want to throw it, with very little resistance.
Your Excellency. Yeah. All right. How many of you in this room fell victim to what their graces have said?
Not today,
No, I mean today. All right. Today. All right. Why?
If you're complacent, you think you're more in control of what you have than you are at that point.
This is where we're going. Mental and physical.
Mental. 100%.
There we go. Every one of you knows how to use a weapon, or a weapon and a shield. The difference is right in here. Now, those of you that know me and have trained with me, you know that's where I live. Okay? But why does that work so much, right? It's an easy question, right? Because some days it does and some days it doesn't. Oh, we had a very good session, okay? We actually did some training. We worked on it. We had a good session. Did some training. More work to do. I'll be right there for you. Okay? I'll get it done. Helga, in the fights you had, what would you say the toughest fights were based on? Mental or physical?
No.
Okay. How so?
So right now I'm not watching my opponent as much as I should, which means I'm not taking advantage of the opportunities they're giving me. I'm trying to force my own tools versus taking advantage of theirs.
Okay. And in that, did you find that they were taking advantage of you more than you were of them?
I was finding that I could flat snap a lot of them for it. So Ronan and I actually got lazy with Ronan in this last set. Like, as the fights went on, I got lazier at the set. And he started popping me with shit that I should have had. But it was because he produced a lazy response out of me, and I didn't just take it right back. Be like, shh, sit down.
Ballinor, you're coming back after the layoff. So what are you seeing when you're watching these other fights? What are you seeing that you could contribute to a mental failure and also a physical strength?
Mental failure? Not catering to your own strengths, I think. A lot of times we try to do things, this is a practice session and we do that. But we have to have that mindset that, okay, I'm gonna practice this right here. But if I do something and I'm not thinking along that mindset, my brain's gonna get messed up.
Right. Now, what about physical strengths? What did you see out there that you were impressed with? Speed, power, choice of blows, number of blows, footwork?
Number of blows, footwork, and the choice of angles.
Good.
That's where you see, the fighters up here and the fighters down there is the angles that you.
Unbelted. How many of you, once you stood across from your opponent, already had a feeling you were going to lose? Right from the start. True or not true?
Actually, I had that.
Don't worry. You guys are next. Right? Don't worry. It's your turn.
It's really important to say that, like, we all can have doubt, right?
Right.
And like when I fought Sig, he started moving around really fucking fast, and honestly, I'm like, God damn, he's quick. And I did what I was doing.
So the two of you did. Rodrigo, you did not. All right. Non-royal peers, white belts. How many of you, as soon as you squared off against your opponent, you had a feeling you were going to lose? Inside your head. Anybody? Okay. Royal peers?
Yeah.
Sure. So,
But it,
okay.
but it
Here
also
we go.
manifests is like I gotta live up to the challenge.
Right.
I gotta step into the challenge, and that's actually the head talk. It's not that I'm gonna get smoked.
It's
I
right.
need to lean into the challenge or get smoked.
Object, right? Belted, unbelted, royal peer or not, doesn't matter. Right? You mess with this thing, it will leave you out of the game. Okay? Now then, when we're talking training, right, it is mental and physical. So take advantage of this time to pick somebody and say, I need to work on this. Even if it's me. Okay? Now that most of you know that I'm compromised a bit, so my time with a helmet on and a stick in my hand is limited. But I will get it on. Okay? We need to, we'll get it on. So, what we're talking about here, though, is the idea that we all fight. Do we all train and practice? I mean, be honest. Be honest, okay? What?
Because he makes me.
You know,
He makes me.
what's the deal, right? Okay? Number of dukes in the room, counts in the room, counts maybe want to become dukes. How'd they get there? They get there by sitting around doing nothing, right? If your aspiration is the accolade, can't get there without some renown, without some skill sets, right? Goal setting. Training and practice are goal setting opportunities. Don't have to. I'm just, there's enough room in the SCA for the person that wants to go to practice every other week, just to have a good time with their friends. Helga.
How are you defining training?
Here we go. So, many of you that have done this with me, I actually drew that on the wall. Okay? Training is simple in a way. There's two distinct roles with a very, very pointed outcome. There's a trainer and a trainee. The trainer talks, the trainee listens, the trainer answers questions, the trainee listens, and actually, finally, the trainer asks the trainee to perform, the trainee performs, and the trainer critiques again and again and again. There is no opponent versus opponent in that at all. And in the beginnings, you can do training with absolutely no armor. So there's no way that you are inferring as the trainer to that trainee, by even having a helmet on, the combat might be involved. You have taken all of that away. You have stripped it down to its bare thing. Once you go into, when you go from training, what are we asking the trainee to do? We're going to practice and we're going to ask them to perform that which they've been trained on. In practice, it is opponent versus opponent, right? Maybe it has very specific rules. I want you to do this, this, and this. I want you to trigger on the targets I leave open. I want you to do body movement X, Y, Z. Or it's just, let's fight. In practice, we can take it from practice back to training, right? And then from practice, where are we going? I'm going to the list field, or are we going to the battlefield? Right? You want to be a war fighter? You want to be a list fighter? You want to be both? Okay? So we're taking you from the very beginning where you trained and you practiced what you were trained on, and now we're going to ask you to perform against an opponent. A lot of them you won't even know. You're going to go to Crown, there's going to be people there you don't know. What are you relying upon? You're relying upon the way in which you trained and practiced. Right? Are the limitations? Sure. Right? So you go in and you enter a tournament, you enter a war, you participate, you come back, right, with X amount of information. Right? Oh, I see that grin. I've been in that grin. Okay? So where do you go? Well, you don't know yet. Can I just practice on what the faults were? Or do I actually need to go back to training? Right? So, of that, if I asked you, again, who's training and practicing now on a regular basis? How many of you practice single sword offhand?
No, that's dumb.
On your knees.
But I work my left hand routine.
Yeah, see? On your knees, yes.
Not on my knees.
Okay, so here we go. Why do we do that? Right? So it's not an absolute surprise when it happens in a tournament. Right? Because what does that do? What's an absolute surprise do to this thing? Bye-bye. Right? And we know that. Yet, do we address the issue of not practicing and not training and not taking it to everything that could happen on a battlefield, which is a different set of craziness, and on a list field? Right? Are you prepared with your armor as it is today? If we started a tournament right now, could you make it all the way through? If you lost your arm, would you have the hand protection needed? Right? You would do your opponent the honor of being prepared to continue the fight for an advantage they gained. Okay? Once again. You're snickering. It's your turn in a minute.
No, that happened to me recently.
Uh-oh.
Not to me, it was my opponent. Was
Yeah.
Not quite prepared.
So that's the extent we can take all of this to. Am I saying you all have to do that? No. Would I prefer that you do that? I would recommend that you do that. Right? Because once again, it's not just you on the battlefield, it's you and your opponents. Right? Be prepared to give them their due. Right? Win, lose, or draw. Don't lose the lesson. How many times have you heard somebody win, come off the field and complain about their performance? Right? Because they know. Right? Because in performance-based training and practice, wins and losses don't really matter. How well did you perform? If you perform well, doesn't it make sense that wins should pursue? Well, based on the weapon form and the fighter that's got it in his hand, sure, right? When you're fighting, right? And it does not matter to me one bit. I do not care that you're male or female. I really don't. A fighter is a fighter, period. The extent to which you take your training and your practice is totally up to you. So on this day, you guys have had quite a few fights. How many of you felt off? Okay? Okay? So we've noted that, right? So, Kaz, if I may, what's going on?
I was distracted game day.
Okay. Ryan, Valano, you're coming back? What were you feeling?
That's a good observation, though.
Just a little off. Things aren't in sync.
Right. Kellen, what's going on for you?
I'm having some actual physical issues going on,
Right.
so.
Again, we all have those days. We just work through them. That's all there is to it.
Can I
It's
make
not-
a- can I make
Of
a
course,
note here?
of course you agree.
So, like, one of the things, like, you guys probably noticed I got armor a little late, in part because I had to settle my mind, and that was making sure you guys were all comfortable. But I sent him a list the other day, and it's called, like, it's talked about a lot. And my wife is a psychologist, and she goes, you think about that? And what it is like your day is a bowl of jelly beans. And every decision you make, you're pulling a jelly bean out of that. And really what the jelly beans are is mental fortitude, mental ability to make
There you go.
decisions and all that. And so, like, when he said, are you ready to walk into a tournament? I always have multiple swords on the side, I have my armor in good repair, and that kind of thing. And it really takes me out. And I say this because that is something I can control outside of talent, just by a little preparedness. But that actually just gives me a good feeling. And I like to liken that to having to make fewer decisions because I know all my shit's together, less intellectual worry. And who here has ever put a nice suit on and you go out with your friends? How good do you feel? I like putting all my shit on and feel like, I feel good. And that good feeling coming into a fight, I think it's really worth something. And that's something it doesn't take any training to fix. All it takes is time ahead of practice. And so I like bringing that up to people.
Right. Mental and physical, what did Grace just talk about?
Mental.
Absolutely. Most of the time, we're gonna come right back to mental. We really are. Right, you can have an off day physically, my wrist is bothering, I've got a cramp, I got a cold, I got a whatever, right? We recognize those easy. The mental side is something that, when we're training it, where are we trying to get to? In
Past
essence.
exhaustion.
Pardon me?
Past exhaustion.
Past exhaustion, but what state are you trying to get to?
Avoid on the physical side,
No, the mental side.
mental side.
Are you
Calm, relaxed.
as comfortable, it's gonna sound familiar, as comfortable as sitting in your favorite chair at home with your favorite beverage? I'm that comfortable, right? Why? I don't care that it's Duke so-and-so fighting with a what's it? That's nice. I've trained, I've practiced, I am ready to perform. And I am ready to learn from that performance. Okay?
By the way, like, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but when he's talking about that mental fortitude, it also matters that if you feel like you've addressed what's coming at you before, you've seen it before, you can actually tell yourself, I fought a Madhu guy, I feel comfortable, I know what's gonna, that expectation, if you can talk, put some good positive talk on that, that actually helps to calm your mind.
It does.
And that kind of
It
stuff.
really does. We all have moments, where we square off with somebody, right? We haven't seen them in 6 months. They live in Salt Lake, right? His Majesty comes up here and now he's got to fight Gabe with a Madhu. Okay,
Which is fun.
right? We have those moments, again, the mental end, right, where we're across from somebody and our little brain is trying to take control away out of that center and focus that we've developed to say, you have no idea what you're doing. Right? Or maybe it's because, you're fighting as Grace Conrad, or as Grace Luther, and they're a little tall. Or as Grace Fenn, and he fights a two-stick form that is highly capable and very unique. And all of a sudden, your little brain is going, right? But why would it, really? In that calm, centered focus, you will perform as you've trained and practiced. You will take the outcome of that and you will train and practice as necessary. So again, win, lose, or draw, don't lose the lesson. It's going to happen. You're going to fight better fighters. Guaranteed. Right? You're going to lose your arm in Crown. You're going to lose your arm on a battlefield. There you go. Right? If you're lucky, when you lose your arm on a battlefield, your buddy will kill you and you can go back and resurrect him. When they're not your buddies, when they point at you and laugh and walk away. So, but again, even in a loss, it's the mental side of how you deal with it. That's nice, one fight. What's it prove? No, dang. You walked away with a lesson. I'm gonna put that in your pockets for later, and we're gonna address it in training. Maybe it was a fluke. Maybe you stumbled. Things like that. A loss,
I
you know.
legitimately killed Uther 2 weeks ago, I did.
Did you,
Great shot.
Did you untie him once killed?
You might have been being nice to me.
All my
No,
kills
I
are
doubt that.
illegitimate.
So, we're here,
Is that because when you
To
kill him,
train.
he calls you a bastard?
whatever you wanna work on, there are a number of people here that are gonna be more than willing to work with you on the mental side, physical side, or both, right? If you're having an off day, maybe it's time, you know, to work on something simple, right? Maybe we pick something that we wanna, you know, maybe I don't practice offhand single sword enough. Maybe we should work on that. Maybe the mental side of standing across from Uther just drives you nuts. We can work on that. Right? I would advise you to take advantage of the fact that His Grace Fenn is here. Okay? I mean, really. Okay? Get some of that. And then ask okay, we did it in a training session, right? We asked His Grace, what should I not do? And what should I do? Okay? Because it's training. Let's ask Him. And His Grace, very forthright, gave answers.
You need to give him a scale of 1 to 10 about how redneck he should respond.
Well,
Ow! I know somebody that's ready for a thumping now, but
I might, I'll see what you do there.
so now looking at that though, okay, what are some of the mental issues some of you are experiencing right now?
Self-doubt.
Self-doubt,
Am I physically capable of continuing to do this?
okay. All right,
Can I chime on in?
of course you can.
The feeling of unworthiness.
Unworthy.
Am I worthy enough to be here right
Really?
now?
Right. Anything else? Any of you got, you know, you got a heavy job load coming up next week, where your mind isn't really here, right? You got a physical injury that you're coming back from, right? Things like that. All these little things have the ability to bore into that mental side. Okay? Give them their due, but don't let them overwhelm. Again, we're here to train and practice a little bit. So therefore, if you're having something of an issue, work on it. That's what we're all here for, right? We're all brothers and sisters of the blade. We're here to assist one another. It's our goal. It's a thing we've done, you know, for years and years and years. So, again, Balanon, you're coming back. Today, what's the biggest offensive weakness you're having?
Putting the sword where I know it should be, but somehow it's not getting.
Right. And the biggest one on defense.
Defense, move. Move, move, move.
Okay. Your great Sean. You're fighting with a buckler and a broadsword. Biggest offensive challenge.
I mean, for me, one of the things I've been working on with this particular system is controlling the center space. Sometimes it's a challenge to remember that that is a thing that I'm doing.
Okay.
Especially considering I haven't fought in 2+ months, and the stuff that I'm working on, I forget that I'm working on those things, and it's just easy to revert back to what has always worked.
Right.
And so I have to remember that I'm working on a thing.
And in those fights, how many times did you notice that you tried to return to weapon and shield, as in heater?
See, the problem is, I didn't recognize that I was returning to heater and sword.
Right.
And you know, until I get
Right.
compromised, until I get hit, and I remember that
Oh, by the way,
I am
Right.
intentionally using the system because I'm working on a thing, and I
Right.
have to get back to working on that thing.
And in training and practice, that's good. That's absolute, right? Got it. Lesson. Okay, back. Do I need to train? Do I need to practice more? Okay, so Cyrus, coming down from Owertha, by the way. By the way, this is His Excellency Cyrus.
Great fight.
He just got out of his sentencing for winning the Western Crown. So he's returned.
He's lucky it was only 4 months, right?
Yeah, he's returned to us a wise man now. So you've come down here. You're in the midst of a bunch of people you haven't fought with in a while, or fought with at all. What observations do you have as far as what is that doing to your mental focus and centering?
I don't have any focus right now.
The rain was worse than I thought. So why is that?
I can make a lot of excuses, but
That 1 a.m. probably had something to do
Yeah.
with it.
yeah, a little bit. I slept yesterday sometime, so. But no, it just takes me a while to get
Going.
ahead. Yeah.
Uh-oh. So, Donovan, you and I worked together quite a while, but it was quite a while ago. So coming here and meeting a bunch of these people and working with them, so on the defense, what did we discover right on? Right. And then offensively, what were you doing with the sword? Right, throwing flat, his defense was just like, whoa, what's going on? Now, the thing is that he's in a training practice mode, so he's good with it. Right? This isn't a depressing kind of thing for him. Right? We all have, our desires. That's great. But in our practice, in our training, and in our performance, we need to be realistic. Right? How well you do will be based on how well you train and practice. Not only that, it's going to depend on the day, how you feel, who you drew in the pools, right? What you're about to do on the battlefield. What the hell am I doing in the center of a shield wall with a round shield? Right? Things like that.
Having fun.
Which leads me to my last comment. If you're having fun, you won. Period. End of story. Okay? If you're not having fun, then you might want to address why. Maybe today's not the day. Maybe today's the day to be home watching a movie. Right? Having a beer with friends somewhere. You're a long way away? Oh, darn.
Hey, we're right here. Your friends are right here.
And that, you said at home.
All right. So, on the mental side, questions about things that are not working for you. Anybody? Oh, everybody's mental side is working perfectly?
Yeah, totally.
You know, I got a lecture earlier on what I was doing wrong, so now I want to see how well it implements.
Well, not only that, that was the part that he and I left out.
I'll step up to the plate. I'm gonna going in with Cyrus on this one because Cyrus said he's gonna lack his concentration in here. He suffers from the same thing that I do. You get popped hard once, all of a sudden you're real game to fight again.
Oh boy, yeah.
And I can tell you that it's apathy. That's one of the things that I struggle with is I have a bit of apathy starting to fight until I'm game to fight. And then it's on, and I can reprogram where my mental headspace is. But up until then, it's like grasping the smoke.
Yeah, pretty much.
Leopold, why don't you tell them what we talked about?
So they talked about me being more assertive.
Tell them what happened.
His Grace and Sagan both, right in the middle of the fight, said, okay, what's going on? Why are you not being this that we're accustomed to seeing? And that helped me turn the knob up and find that setting and go into a more assertive, without being more aggressive, but a more assertive mode. This is my real estate, not yours. Where I was just, here, you want Park Place, you want Boardwalk, go ahead.
Essentially what was happening was finally itself, and he was letting me totally control the fight. Just letting me.
Mentally and physically.
And when I stopped, I said, I feel like you can be pursuing me better, pursuing the fight. better, because he was totally letting me just do whatever I wanted to do. And as soon as I told him that he should be pursuing the fight, as he stepped right out, and as soon as he stepped into range to set, I knew I was threatened. And it was just, it's just changing that mindset of going after the fight. And again, it's not aggressive, it's assertive, and it's a judicious pursuit of the fight. And it was something that he has done to me before and suddenly was not doing. And you know, I run into a whole range of lower caliber fighters that just let me do whatever I'm gonna do. But when he lets me do it like that, there's a problem. Helga?
It's not assertive, it's predatory.
Is what?
It's predatory.
Yeah.
That's one thing, right? Like, we're talking about assertiveness in the fight, we're talking about being more aggressive and everything else like that. It's predatory. We're fucking with the lizard brain of the fighter in front of us.
Right.
And that is a sheer predatory response. It's that assertive when we tell somebody you need to be a little bit meaner. It's not mean.
Right.
I want them to worry. I want that little lizard brain in the back of their head to worry that I'm going to do something to them.
And again, that predatory nature is not aggressive. Aggression is a very different thing. Aggression is just throwing more shit down range and hoping that something's gonna stick.
Right.
But being a predator is going after the fight and pursuing the fight. Judicious pursuit. And as soon as I mentioned it to him, he changed everything.
Anybody else on the mental side?
I'm kind of coming back after a while,
Right.
and I've got a bunch of things in my head. I don't have a problem being honest. The thing is that I see a bunch of these people here, and a bunch of these people know me.
Mm-hmm.
They have certain expectations of me, and certain understandings of me and my fight and all of that. So my brain is saying, okay, you're back now. Go out there and do those things that you've done in the past. But I'm having to play catch up. And let them know that, hey, I still got it, but that's not what I'm here to do. And I was able to let that go when I fought this gentleman right here.
There we go. There we go.
Because he doesn't know me.
That's right.
He doesn't know me. I had the most fun so far today fighting him, and it was fantastic. Because I let all of that bullshit go. I wasn't worried about what Valinor thinks about me, or how he was watching my footwork. I wasn't worried about, any of that. I was like, I get to fight what I can see is a high-level fighter, and I'm just going to go out there and have a blast.
There you go.
You did.
Right, expectations are a funny thing. Especially, what did you say? You said all of these people have expectations of you?
You meant to say
That was what my brain was saying.
Right. That's what
You
That's what my brain kept saying.
that on the meta side is a very strong truth.
I just expect you to have a cup in it.
Right?
You're hoping.
Right? But then, again, then you compounded that by saying, I have expectations of you. Okay? And it's like, well, wait a minute. First thing you said, I haven't fought in a while. So did you base all those expectations on having not fought?
Oh, hell no.
Of course not. Right?
I didn't give myself any of that.
Again, this is one of those things, we've all done it. You started a dumpster fire in your own mind, right? About probably many different things, right? But the trick is, what do we do about that? We lay them down.
Yeah.
You don't have any, the expectation you have today is to have fun. I'm gonna learn something, but I'm gonna have fun.
And I went through that doorway.
Good, with Cyrus.
Yes.
There you go. Okay. Physically, who's having a time with something physically right now? Okay? What is it?
I'm missing 10% of one lung.
Whoa. So our cardio training isn't up to where it should be?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Hey, when I talk, you just got Gabe's attention.
I'm not going to get out-organed. I only have one kidney. You win. we're just going off.
No, you're heading in the less long one to nothing. He's ahead of you and Jimmy one to nothing.
Yeah, just going, no, we're doing, it's the weight of organs missing. We need to
Oh,
go.
there you go. You just have to win, don't you?
Yeah, and lungs don't weigh a lot. So.
All right. So, what's going on physically? Anybody else? What else you got? Yuri, what you got?
3 back surgeries, and I'm a half shorter than I used to be, and I got permanent drop foot. Just a few things, but we're
And
working through
how
it.
much does that affect the mental side?
A lot. Sometimes because you can't, I don't know if I can, I'm feeling better about it, but I know eventually in probably 5 years or so, I'll be fused totally in my lower back again, 100%. But it's just there on the side, because I've been doing it since what, 2002 was the first surgery. And so I've had to learn how to compensate for that. So I feel pretty confident in what I can do, and it's not what I used to do. And it took me about 15 years to realize I can't do what I used to do, and I kept trying to do it. But I'm wearing this body curious that I can't move from here to here at all. It's all one piece.
But that was the deal we made to keep you fighting.
Yep, and that's my back surgeon said the same thing.
Yep.
Wear this and you can fight, and I've been fighting since then. And it's just
So,
okay, but
other
you learn it.
physical stuff, not of a medical nature. Who's having trouble throwing what today? Everybody's throwing everything perfectly?
No.
Okay.
I
Okay.
can go through injury, I can work all through that, 8 hours of lack of sleep. I want a nap, damn it.
Don't do that when you're fighting losers. That would be bad. Okay. Anything else? Kaz, what are you working on?
Working on active defense.
One more time.
Active defense.
Okay.
Working on my defense.
Okay. Eleanor, we know where you are. Yuri, what you got?
Part of what I do all the time, Sean's watched it for years. I come to practice, I'm in training mode. I can't set out of training mode for some reason. If I come to practice and I start a fight with him, then I'm in a different mindset. But like today, I started with Aiden, which I love fighting him, and he's got really good potential, so I wanted to spend some more time with him. And now I'm in trained brain. And I'm not being as reactionary, and I'm not throwing what I normally throw. And so it's just, I have a hard time resetting. He sees it all the time. Once I'm set into it, I'm good. But
Right.
getting there sometimes it's like beating a chihuahua to death.
That is the caveat.
Just can't get it, right?
There's a visual.
That is the caveat.
They never die.
Right? For people who do a lot of training, I mean a lot of training, where they're training others, right? They go to practice and they train others. Go to practice the following week, they train others. That goes on for months and months and months. And all of a sudden, they're not really fighting. And then they decide, I need to fight some, and all of a sudden the triggers are gone.
Yep.
Mental centering and focusing is out the window. A lot of that stuff. So it's one of those things where, talk about a two-edged sword. Being a trainer and a combat fighter, okay, you got to keep both of those edges sharp. Okay, especially if you intend to fight in Crown as an actual contender, okay. Or you want to participate in wars and you really want to excel, whatever that is, be very aware if you're doing a lot of training of others. Okay? A lot of us, it's second-hand nature. Some it's not. All right. Well, that's about all I had. Anybody got any comments?
Thank you for coming out.
We
Thanks for
appreciate
coming
you.
out.
Very well.
Hey guys, so as much as, if you don't have a comment now, come up with a question before the day's out and go ask a question. Especially like a lot of the unbelts here. It doesn't have to be Sagan, it can be somebody else who's got the
Doesn't
answer.
matter.
Who's doing what you think you have a question for, but go ask a good question. Don't feel like you have I don't have it. It's okay. Come up with it in the next 2 hours. We're not gonna have lunch till 2 or 3 o'clock. I think it's coming on 1. So we're gonna push that out a little bit. There'll be a nice chili, bread, chips, all that kind of stuff. Dinner will be burgers, video review, have some other stuff going on.
Right.
So, but if you can't ask it now, get a question later.
Yeah, and since lunch is coming up, have a question ready at lunchtime, right? We can do a roundtable lunchtime as well.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right, let's get back to it.